What's howling, everybody? It's Batwolf, and welcome to this highly anticipated video. Today we are going to continue the story of what if Darth Maul had trained Luke Skywalker and turned him into his personal weapon. So if you'd like to find out what happened in that video, make sure you check it out in the description down below, and then come back to continue the story. Now, before I get into the video, just a quick reminder that this is the second part of an ongoing series, and that I will be going over some details from the first part. And as always, let me know what you guys thought in the comment section down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the Batwolf Enterprises channel, as we have some pretty cool stuff coming. In the first part of our video, the universe was drastically changed, as Maul would stop his hunt for Obi Wan Kenobi like in the original timeline, and instead took in Luke Skywalker and used his natural force abilities to enact his revenge upon the galaxy. This would completely change the timeline, as Luke would not make his way to Obi-Wan and then travel to Yavin 4, therefore not destroying the Death Star and causing the destruction of the Rebel base and crippling their army. Now the power in the galaxy shifts, as Luke Skywalker, the ultimate Jedi and Sith killing machine, was able to kill the seemingly unbeatable Darth Vader, causing a whisper of his presence within the galaxy. And that, my Jedi and Sith friends, is where our story begins. Evasive action! The desperate Admiral Ackbar shouts to his crew as they are nearly destroyed from the siege of cannon fire. The ship then shakes due to the cannon fire making contact with their shields. And where are my reinforcements? Communications are down, sir. I think they've jammed our signals. As the private finishes his report, Admiral Ackbar's attention is drawn to the side of the ship as there is a great big light. What he sees is an explosion of a fellow rebel ship, their ship being blown out of existence and all of their fellow soldiers along with it. Brace for impact! The Admiral cries out as another blast fires into their shields, causing the ship to rumble and for the Admiral to be knocked out of his chair. As two rebel soldiers assist him up, he asks, "Status report." "Shields are down, sir, and another cruiser has just come out of hyperspace." Hearing this report, the Admiral looks out to the window and sees the three large Imperial cruisers ominously floating towards them, preparing to fire. "How long until we can reach light speed?" he asks with the last of his hope. 5 minutes, sir." With this devastating report, Ackbar looks back at his men, all desperate, all knowing that those 5 minutes are all but impossible. "Let's give it all we got." And with the combinations of bravery, gunship fire, and the brilliant strategies from Admiral Ackbar, they fought as hard as they could, keeping the Imperial cruisers at bay, but unfortunately losing all of their X-Wing pilots. With the Empire now loading their cannons and aiming their sights on Ackbar's already weakened ship, he looks to his men, knowing that this is it. Just as all hope is lost, a large light flashes in space. The Admiral and his men look in shock as one of these Star Destroyers has been obliterated, and all that remains is a seemingly insignificant TIE fighter. What Admiral Ackbar sees next is nothing short of amazing. This one ship dodged all the blaster fire from the cruisers and manages to use maneuvers that even in his years of experience, Ackbar couldn't believe. The fighters sped away from missiles, dodging other TIE fighters and causing them to fire at one another, while also, and more importantly, keeping the attention of the Empire upon them. Through all the commotion, one of the soldiers from before looks to his panel and is shocked at what he sees. "Admiral, our lightspeed generator is fully charged and ready to jump. What are your orders?" Admiral Ackbar looks out to the ship that had just saved their lives and decides to make a decision that would change the rebellion forever. "Send that fighter our coordinates and get us out of here." "Yes, sir," the soldier says with pride, and with a quick few moments of procedure and teamwork, the ship sends the coordinates and shoots into lightspeed. The ship then comes out of lightspeed, smoking in some places, covered in blaster marks, and could use a new paint job. Though the crew made it from the jaws of death, there is no cheering, no happy tears, just the silence of anticipation. They all get out of their seats and approach the windows, looking outside and hoping that they were not the only ones to make it out of that battle alive. With his old, wrinkled face, Akbar watches with even more hope than he had for his own life. Finally, the heroic TIE fighter shoots out of the darkness of space, and the crew jumps out of their seats in pure joy. Even the seemingly never-happy Admiral Akbar breaks a smile, for this is a well-fought victory, and possibly a new ally has just been made. Soon after the celebration, the crew gather around and await for their savior to board their ship. As they stand around waiting for the door to open, they all whisper their theories of who this rogue pilot might be, thinking that they may be a trooper who went against the Empire due to the carnage, or even a secret spy for the rebellion. Suddenly, the doors open, and a large, hooded figure walks through. The rebels grow shocked of their savior's appearance, as this is not what they expected him to look like. The cloaked man makes his way to the Admiral, towering over him and intimidating everyone except for Akbar.
My name is Admiral Akbar, and on behalf of my men and I...
The Admiral then raises his hand for a handshake. The hooded man reaches for his hood and removes it, revealing a young, tattooed, yet handsome face.
Luke Skywalker.
And the pleasure is all mine, Luke says, and the two then shake hands. Though the Admiral was happy with his candor, he decided to ask this mysterious visitor a few questions.
Skywalker, huh? I didn't know we had anyone with that name in the rebellion, or that we had any spies on those ships.
Luke quickly dismisses the idea of him being a part of the rebellion. I'm not with the rebellion.
Then the bounty hunter, perhaps?
The Admiral asks. No, but if you're offering me a reward, then I'll have to accept. The Admiral squints, still unsure of this man standing in front of him.
I suppose we can help, depending on what it is, of course.
I'm looking for information, Luke says mysteriously.
Information on what?
The skeptical Admiral asks. In due time. Right now, I'm in desperate need of some rest, so if you can help me with that, that would be great. The Admiral takes a second to answer, but then accepts this rather simple request.
Private, take our guest to one of our empty bunks and make sure that he's not disturbed.
The private salutes to his Admiral and then asks the Dark pilot to walk with him to the bunks. The Dark Force user followed the young private down the hallways of the ship and into the quarters. Well, here it is, sir. Let me know if you need anything. The somewhat excited and nervous rebel says. Thank you, says Luke. Before Luke could step into the room, the private stops him as he wishes to have a conversation. But before you go, I just wanted to say thank you for, saving. Luke raises his hand and smiles. It was simply the right thing to do. I was just trying to help people who do the same for others. The private then smiles, and after a few rather awkward moments of again trying to say thank you, he leaves, and Luke steps into the room. Luke turns around and investigates the basic, gray, and empty room with nothing but a bed and lights. After taking a few moments searching for bugs or communication devices, he reaches into his pocket. He takes out a small circular device, and before pressing the button, he takes a second to breathe and is ready for the new challenge ahead of him. He places the projector down on the ground, kneels on one knee, and a large hologram pops up of a horned, red and black tattooed face man that sits on a large throne. The infamous Darth Maul sits and stares at Luke with his yellow and orange inflamed eyes.
Speak,
Maul commands. I obtained the knowledge you requested and destroyed all the records on board.
Very good, my apprentice. And what of those little rebels?
Your plan worked just as you said, Master. They allowed me on their ship once they were grateful for the rescue.
Excellent. Well done, my apprentice.
Thank you, Master.
And yet, I sense some imbalancedness with you.
No, Master, it's just... Is this really the best way to get the knowledge we need? Our deception of the rebels is necessary. It will only help them in the long run. Remember, apprentice, they know where the Jedi is. Trust me. Now, get the information that we need and maintain their trust at all costs. It could be useful for us later. Now, get some rest. I will expect a full report in 2 days. Yes, Master, Luke says, and with that, the hologram fades. After his meeting with his master, Luke then eats some rations that the crew had brought for him, and gets some rest. He dreams, and finds himself back in a dark castle, feeling strong and proud of his victory over the infamous Darth Vader. Suddenly, from behind him, a blue lightsaber ignites, and a figure in black force pushes him off of the bridge, down to the lava, with Vader's burnt corpse. As he lands, he finds nothing but ash and rock, and looks up. Here it is, Luke. He looks out to what his master is pointing at, and sees the grand Sith temple that they had been calling home for the past year. Suddenly, the temple starts to shake and falls apart into pieces, and then notices as his world starts to fall apart and turn to ash. Master, give me your hand! He calls out and tries to grab hold of his master. Yet, Luke falls into the night and looks down to see the coarse, rough, and irritating sands of Tatooine. As Luke looks around, he realizes that he is not far away from his family's farm. As he uses the Force to run as fast as he can, he gets to the farm, only to be too late. The haunting, burnt bodies of his family scar his eyes yet again. Before he could feel any more pain, a blue blade is ignited into his heart. As Luke gasps for air and feels his life fading from his body, he looks back at his killer. However, when he turns around, all he sees is the black Jedi robe filled with nothing but utter darkness. The figure then brings the lightsaber high and slashes at Luke. Believing he was moments from death, he wakes from his dream. Realizing that he's back on the rebel ship, he wipes the sweat off of his head and breathes heavily, as this dream has scarred him for many nights. And with every dream he has, time and time again, it shakes him to his core. Meanwhile, in Admiral Akbar's quarters, he observes plans and creates strategies for the next battles to come. His studying is disturbed from a knock on the door.
Enter,
Akbar says. In walks Luke, a little unsettled from his dreams.
Ah, I was wondering when you were coming to see me.
Luke raises a tattooed eyebrow. You were expecting me? Luke asks.
Yes. However, I was hoping it would wait till tomorrow.
The Admiral then reaches into a drawer and pulls out a small disc-looking object. This disc creates a holographic photo of an ongoing battle beneath an alien sea, filled with the natives, aqua droids, clone troopers, and, to Luke's disgust, Jedi. What's this? Luke asks.
This was the Battle of Moncala. At the time, I was a captain, and we were in the middle of the Clone Wars.
The Admiral then takes a moment in thought of how simple things used to be.
It was then that the Quarren had wanted independence and aligned themselves with Count Dooku and the Separatists, killing our king and forcing Prince Li Cha to take up the throne.
The Admiral looks closely at Luke.
If it wasn't thanks to the help of the Jedi, we would have lost that war.
The Admiral sees how this affects Luke and watches the anger and fear in his eyes.
I've seen a lot of Jedi in my time, but none were so bold, so brave, as General Anakin Skywalker.
Luke smiles at the story. The Admiral smiles at him.
Your father was the best damn pilot and duelist I've ever seen. But it wasn't the way he fought, or his courage, that made him so powerful. It was his heart.
Luke feels touched from these kind words. Finally, Luke smiles and opens his mouth to speak. I've heard so many stories across the galaxy of how strong he was. He looks the Admiral right in the eyes. It's good to know that he was a good man, too. The Admiral smiles and leans back in his chair.
So what can I do for you, Skywalker?
Luke takes a moment before he requests the information. I need information on a Jedi. The Admiral raises his brow.
I'm sorry, but the Jedi are extinct.
Luke smirks at this lie. I don't mean to be rude, but we both know that's not true. The Admiral huffs as he knows that Luke can see right through him. I'm looking for Obi Wan Kenobi. The Admiral leans back in his chair in surprise.
Kenobi? I'm sorry, but those records are top secret.
Akbar then regains his composure.
You may be Skywalker's son, but I'm not going to be the one who puts the Jedi at risk.
Luke is annoyed by this and angry at the idea of preserving the Jedi way. He then uses the teachings that his master had taught him through the ways of manipulation. Tell me, Admiral, what happened to your people after the Clone Wars?
Well,
Because if my intel is correct, I know that Prince Li Chao was forced to sign a treaty to work with the Empire after the Clone Wars was over, then forced into slavery just as other planets were. Unless I'm wrong, Admiral. The Admiral sits in silence at the truth of what happened to his people. Now look, Admiral. I may be young and haven't seen as many battles as you have, but I know pain. I've made it my mission to save as many planets like yours, and that is why I killed Darth Vader. Akbar's eyes widened. He knew that Vader was missing, but he could never imagine that the powerful Sith Lord could be dead. Admiral Akbar then narrows his eyes and, feeling backed into a corner, he asks the young man,
do you have any proof?
Luke then reaches behind his belt and grabs something. He then places Darth Vader's lightsaber on the table. With this significant proof in front of the Admiral, Luke then takes this moment to plead his case. Listen, Admiral, we are living in a time of war, and for the first time in years, we actually have a chance to bring down the Empire once and for all. This next sentence makes Luke sick as it comes out of his mouth. The rebellion needs the Jedi, and with my power and Kenobi's training, the Jedi can rise and free the galaxy once and for all. The Admiral, still unsure of this, begins to weigh his options, and seeing as his options are very limited, he decides to come up with a plan that could suit the both of them.
Listen, Skywalker. I may be able to give you the information, but if, and only if, you do something for me.
Luke smiles. Sure, what are friends for?
Well, Skywalker, let me ask you something.
Akbar has a mysterious, haunting look as he utters these horrifying words.
Have you ever heard of the Death Star?
Luke raises an eyebrow as the Admiral asks for the favor of a lifetime, to go on to the infamous Death Star and save a valuable leader of the rebellion, Princess Leia Organa of Alderaan. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to keep up with the channel and the other videos, like a part 3 of this What If series, which will bring Luke Skywalker and some unlikely allies onto the Death Star, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's next. For those of you who have been keeping up with the What If, I'd like to apologize, as I know that it's been a little while since I've updated this What If series, and of course come out with the second part of this video, as I have been working on a new setup and a new location. My girlfriend and I have just moved into a new place, so it's been taking a little bit, but We're very happy, and now I have a good setup to record and come out with these videos more frequently. So be ready for part 3 very soon. That said, let me know what you guys thought about the video and what other what ifs you would like to see in the future. And my Jedi and Sith friends, may the Force be with you, always.